FNAF has a wide variety of unanswered questions. Some have answers, but they aren't always clean. But sometimes they are, and these help explain a lot of what's going on in this series. So today we're going to talk about some of them that will definitely help sort out at least some of the timeline. That's right, making people mad by going against the status quo is what we're exploring today, and seemingly every day. Let's do it. And at 5, the Aftons. Yes, this is a top 5, okay, relax. In the best ending to FNAF Security Breach, there are quite a few confusing moments. The most confusing one for me, at the very least, is the idea that Gregory would go get ice cream with Vanessa when she's done trying to kill him. Like, why would you do that? Like, this is kind of like a come into my van kind of situation, you know? Some seem to think that it's because they're related or representing the dead Afton kids. And thanks to MatPat, there is actually a little more evidence to this now. Well, not now, like, a while ago, but you know what I mean. The ice cream that Vanessa gets while on the hill is very reminiscent of the ice cream cone that lured Elizabeth into Baby's arms. However you want to say it, arms, arm grabbing, scooping range, whatever. The cone, the soft serve on top, kind of looks like the cone with the soft serve on top that Baby presented to Elizabeth in order to lure her closer and then, you know. Like, is that evidence or just a coincidence? Originally, you don't really know, okay? But Vanessa isn't the only one with a potentially symbolic dessert option in her murderous little hands. Thanks to MatPat pointing this out, Gregory also has a popsicle. A Freddy popsicle to be exact. They're kind of like the ones that you could get in the game earlier, like the SpongeBob ones that never look right? But it's Freddy Fazbear. And the lighting makes this one, that isn't Glamrock Freddy, surprisingly enough, look very yellow in color, as if it was referencing to a certain yellow bear that could have had something to do with Crying Child's death. If it was meant to be Crying Child, this could be a good way of indicating that not only is this good, but it also gets better. Alright, Crying Child has taken a bite out of the head of the popsicle, which first of all is weird, because why are you biting a popsicle? Especially in a point that like the ear can like fall off because it's not attached by enough anymore. But also it could be a reference to how he ended up meeting his unfortunate fate after William supercharged the jaw, just saying, but like, I don't know, okay? I don't know if like the generally accepted canon, like if these are the Afton kids, but like hell, it would make a lot of sense in my mind. And at 4, we are Vanny. This one was a video a long time ago, before Security Breach actually came out, and it was a theory about how our player character in FNAF VR was in fact Vanny, or Vanessa. And you know what? It ended up being confirmed as true in Security Breach, although I'm pretty sure that that wasn't an original thought when we made that video. I'm pretty sure I based it off of Reddit posts and stuff. But with the interviews or therapy sessions present within the game, however, we do get more information and clues to the story of the previous 3 FNAF games as well. Well, okay, like 2 main series games and then 1 spin-off. Yep. That's correct. These therapy sessions actually confirmed the suspicions that Vanessa was indeed Ness from FNAF AR as well. So with this revelation, we know that in FNAF VR we play as Vanessa, who was probably put there by someone higher up at Fazbear Entertainment because they knew what Afton was planning or something, or maybe it was Afton using his hacking skills through being in the game, something like that. I don't know. But then we got possessed with our mind locked inside Princess Quest. And then we get sent to the special delivery unit to install our virus on various animatronics, probably to try to help William gain a body of his own, but that didn't work. So we were moved to the head security guard for the Pizzaplex, where we could dig up Afton's old body so that we'd be able to put him in that, since it had already contained him before. And thanks to the simple mention of Lewis and her looking up odd things at work with her secret encrypted conversations, we now know the full story of Vanessa since FNAF VR, or since FNAF AR. No, it would be VR AR Security Breach. Halfway through into number 3, limb transplant. William Afton is a tricky fiend. He somehow, no matter what, seems to get away with whatever scheme he's cracked up just because he's lucky, okay? Or maybe he's just that kind of person. Maybe he has like the Infinity Gauntlet, maybe he's just charming, I don't know. But if he does have the Infinity Gauntlet, it would explain a lot, since every game after the introduction of Springtrap, at least where William appears, he has a new design. And it's not a design that can be easily explained away by the suit deteriorating or being torn up. No, like Springtrap to Scraptrap, his head's like doubled in size. And then Scraptrap to Burntrap, it went back to the original design. It was more Springtrap but more deteriorated and burnt. Like the whole time, however, it remained William Afton, as proven in Ultimate Custom Night and in like the Freddy files. It calls him William Afton as well. So like, what's the deal here, Scotty boy? What's going on? How did this happen? My best explanation was artistic license. Okay, Scott just ran with the idea that he thought he would make Springtrap scarier since a lot of people were upset with the original jump scare from FNAF 3 and he didn't want that repeating itself, but in the process, he confused the hell out of us and honestly, I don't like Scraptrap, it's weird. So in Security Breach, he went back to something closer to the original design and then swapped out missing limbs from the Scraptrap animatronic for Glamrock Bonnie parts. Plus the whole artistic license thing explains away the design discrepancies on Scraptrap. But ultimately, in at number 2, Vengeful Child. And while yes, we made a whole video about this literally yesterday, I wanted to make sure that everyone knows that the whole crying child is the vengeful spirit thing solves a lot more problems than it causes. Because the only thing you really have to do to have this theory be the case is believe that crying child would blame his father for his death. And considering how he most likely saw Elizabeth get scooped, it's probably the case. At that point, he would note that the robots that William, his father, made are meant to kill, and therefore wouldn't blame Michael for figuring that an animatronic wouldn't be able to kill him. Additionally, it explains the Nightmares in Ultimate Custom Night, fact that Cassidy was released in FNAF 3, and the he pronouns used for the one you should not have killed, and doesn't really raise any questions other than would he blame William. The only time we've seen someone possess something while they've still been alive and then also possessed multiple things was Henry after the loss of his daughter, which, you know what, in my mind would cause a lot more agony than a child being chased by nightmare versions of robots while you're in a coma in the hospital, okay? Losing a child is worse than a nightmare. Also, if you're in the hospital, the only thing that you're going to possess is like the only thing around, which is your dad, okay? It's the simplest explanation. It literally explains everything. I don't know why people are so apprehensive about this theory. Like, yeah, you can believe that William didn't kill Crying Child, but what's important here isn't what you believe, it's what Crying Child himself would believe. After all, since the vengeful spirit is talking through the animatronics in Ultimate Custom Night, as we learned from the mediocre melody lines, because the animatronic lines are basically just what the one you should not have killed is saying, but in the animatronic voice. So, by that logic, the one you should not have killed basically named themselves. Not basically, they did name themselves. So all that matters is if Crying Child would blame dear old dad, and considering how he probably saw Elizabeth get scooped, I'm much more comfortable thinking that, instead of thinking that Cassidy wasn't released in the Happiest Day minigame despite what is clearly is the intended end for those spirits, and then somehow switching from Golden Freddy to William or even possessing both, and then having two souls inside of Golden Freddy. Like, it's one logical assumption compared to multiple assumptions. The logbook people also cite as evidence for Cassidy actually basically proves the whole Cassidy thing wrong, since Cassidy shows up on a page talking about your happiest day, being given cake by the puppet, so I'm pretty sure that is Scott solidifying the whole she was released in the Happiest Day minigame thing, since this book would have taken place before FNAF 3. Like hell, maybe it even took place during FNAF 3 just before she's released, hence why the two spirits could be talking. And finally, in at number 1, false conviction. This is actually the theory that inspired this list, and it comes from one of you. On our full timeline video, which in my opinion is still underappreciated, incredibly underappreciated really, Shauna S commented, quick little theory. You know how in the first game it says the killer was convicted for murders of the missing children? If that is the case, I think that Henry was falsely convicted, but since they couldn't find the bodies, he got 25 to 30 years and got out of prison when Fazbear Frights happened. It explains to me why he wasn't involved in the first few games. I will say I've heard a lot of different information concerning the missing children's incident, so my theory may be wrong, just wanted to put that out there. And then they also gave me permission to use this in the video. And honestly, Henry being falsely imprisoned for the missing children's incident explains a lot. Considering how there were no bodies, there wouldn't really be much forensic evidence, so the case against anyone in this case would rely on circumstantial evidence to get a conviction. But when it's the death of multiple kids, they're definitely going to want to explore every avenue and not let this guy off if there is even the slightest chance. So the case would have been dragged on for a while, until 1993 potentially, when the Fazbear Frights location closed with William still inside. 30 years is definitely a lot of time for new evidence to come to light, and maybe Henry even could have gotten out earlier than the 30 years if he was exonerated by new evidence. But he didn't act until William was free because he thought that the situation was dealt with. While the whole he was convicted thing could be explained away by Scott not thinking that there would be another game, let alone 8 more, he probably could have wanted the killer story to end with the first game just in case. But now, since we know that William wasn't convicted, this could be a really great explanation that explains why nothing happened with Henry until FNAF 3. So Incredible job, Shauna. Amazing work. I don't know if that means much coming from me, but good job. That's all the time we have for today, friends. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been and shall remain Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video.